What's going on YouTube? We back with another banger video, and today we are reacting to why the modern anime avoids the One Piece model. When you look at One Piece characters, you may think they're pretty goofy and pretty like insane, but I'm gonna put some up on the screen for example. But you know, when you look at other character designs like JoJo and let's say Attack on Titan or something like that, they look kind of normal, you know, they look like normal people, you know. So I wanted to see why animes never copy the One Piece art style or copy their models or anything like that, just as like a you know, a thing, because you know how big One Piece is. So I never understood why other animes never referenced One Piece or, you know, did things like that in their animes with their character designs. So let's get straight on to it. Thank you guys for 900 subscribers. And yeah, we're gonna get on into the video. I'll be back in like 2 seconds.
When people talk about modern battle shonen, there's always this ongoing conversation about influence. You'll watch the newer series and start immediately spotting the DNA of the big three, but usually two names dominate that discussion: Naruto and Bleach. You see Naruto's fingerprints everywhere: the outcast protagonist, the inner demon sealed inside, the rival who mirrors the hero ideologically. It's a character.
Some of y'all was saying Naruto, like last video, some of y'all was saying Naruto did not have the best, like one of the best world buildings, just because of like how the world works and their economics and stuff like that. Why do you guys like really say that? Do you guys just really not like the Naruto world building? Like, is it bad to y'all? Like, I never understood how you guys don't, you know, don't really mess with Naruto world building like that. I mean, the world is beautiful. Just because it's war and stuff going on don't mean anything, you know? Just because they got the hidden leaf, the villages and all of that, that don't mean nothing, bro. So just put in the comment section, what world building do y'all love in any anime, and why is Naruto not at the top of that list?
Print that modern shonen still actively builds on. Then there's Bleach. Here we've got the aesthetic influence, the squad hierarchies, the transformation releases. We see the way
Bleach.
fights
I
escalate
like
through
Bleach.
spectacle and presence. It
Just gets kind of
basically gives
stale
modern
sometimes.
battle anime its visual combat language. And when you look at the new generation series like JJK or Demon Slayer, these inspirations feel immediate and visible. But there's one elephant in the room, which is One Piece, the most commercially successful manga of all time, one of the longest running stories ever told in the medium, a series that has outsold, outlasted, and outscaled its peers. And yet, when people talk about modern shonen influence, One Piece almost feels absent from the conversation.
Yeah, nobody does talk about it.
You don't see many pirate crews, you don't see treasure hunt narratives dominating the landscape, you don't see island-to-island adventure structures becoming the industry norm.
Probably
So to me,
because
this raises a really
it's so
interesting
dominant.
question. How can the biggest shonen of all time feel like it inspired the least amount of modern battle anime? And the answer isn't really that it didn't inspire them, it's that its influence operates on a completely different layer of storytelling. I would say Naruto influenced a lot of the characters and Bleach influenced a lot of the combat, but soon we'll see that One Piece influenced something much harder to replicate, which is world building, narrative scale, and the philosophy of adventure itself. It's the hardest legacy to spot in the modern era, but it's also the hardest to imitate. So in this video I want to break down why modern shonen feels so visibly shaped by Naruto and Bleach, while One Piece's influence feels much quieter. So when we talk about visible influence on modern shonen, it's almost impossible not to begin with Naruto, because Naruto created a character framework that modern battle shonen still actively builds on today, and you can break that framework down into a few core pillars that keep reappearing across the new generation. At the center of Naruto's story is loneliness. He's a kid trying to be acknowledged. He has a dream of becoming Hokage, and it's rooted in belonging. He wants the village that rejected him to finally accept him, and that emotional
I'm not gonna say too much on
one of the
Naruto
most
part.
reusable protagonist blueprints in modern shonen. We see it clearly in characters like Deku from My Hero Academia or Asta from Black Clover.
Okay. I have to say something about My Hero. I know this is not about My Hero, but did y'all watch the newest episode that came out? The last episode? Did y'all like how they ended it? If you know what I'm talking about, put it in the comment section. Did y'all like how they ended that last episode with Deku? And you know what I'm saying? Did y'all like that? Me personally, I ain't even gonna say that, but put in the comments, did y'all like the last episode of My Hero?
They add different settings and different power systems, but the same emotional core. A protagonist starting from social or physical disadvantage, trying to prove their worth to the world around them.
Yeah,
it's
Naruto did
inspirational,
influence
it's
a lot of
empathetic,
that.
and most
A lot of
importantly,
these main
it's
characters.
adaptable. You can drop that character template into almost any
Asta's
narrative
literally
setting
replica
and it
of
still
Naruto,
works. Another major export from Naruto is the idea of power as something dangerous, something that exists in the tension with yourself. And I'm talking about Naruto's relationship with Kurama. It's a relationship that represents fear and rejection. The idea
Now that I think about it, Asta literally, I know the creator of Black Clover said that he took a lot of inspiration from Naruto, but yeah, he has a demon inside of Asta has a demon inside of him. He literally acts like Naruto when he was a kid. So I just find it kind of funny that I don't know. A lot of people don't like Black Clover, but me personally, I like Black Clover a lot. Maybe it's because I love Naruto. I don't know.
The thing that makes you special is also the thing that isolates you, and modern shonen has reused that metaphor constantly. We see the likes of Yuji housing Sukuna, Deku inheriting power that destroys his body, and of course Asta from Black Clover also fits this trope. They all echo this idea that power comes with psychological weight. It's a form of strength as well as responsibility. Then there's the rival dynamic, another Naruto blueprint that reshaped shonen storytelling. Naruto helped to reframe the rival as something deeper. It would be wrong to say that Sasuke was just trying to surpass Naruto, because he represented an entirely different response to trauma. Where Naruto sought out connection, Sasuke embraced isolation, and where Naruto believed in bonds, Sasuke decided
Did y'all like Naruto or Sasuke? If y'all watch Naruto, which one did y'all like?
to reject them. So this rivalry became ideological, not just physical.
I kind of messed with Sasuke more a little bit. I don't know why really, but I just kind of like appealed more to Sasuke than Naruto.
Modern shonen mirrors the structure constantly. Rivals aren't just power benchmarks anymore. They're thematic counterpoints to the protagonist's worldview. So when you step back and look at Naruto's legacy, you see that its influence is primarily emotional. It taught modern battle shonen how to write protagonists, how to frame rivals, how to externalize inner conflict through power systems. It created an amazing.
A lot of y'all was saying One Piece had a better story too, man. I kind of can't wait to get into it.
Different worlds, and that's why its influence feels so visible today. It helped give modern stories a compelling emotional core, and if Naruto shaped how modern shonen writes characters, then Bleach shaped how it presents its combat. Bleach's influence is rooted in its style, spectacle, and presence, and that influence shows up across multiple areas. One of Bleach's most immediate contributions to the genre is something fans would jokingly call drip, but it genuinely helped to reshape character design philosophy.
Man, they had a PS5 before the PS5 even came out.
Uniforms were often simpler, silhouettes weren't always expressive, but Bleach treated character presence as a part of the storytelling. You had the captain's outfits, the sword forms, the distinct postures.
They always different.
Every major fighter had a visual identity that felt iconic before they even attacked, and modern shonen absorbed that philosophy heavily.
I never thought about that. Demon Slayer did.
To them. Characters are staged to look strong, but also cool at the same time.
Wow. I actually never thought about Bleach like that.
Organized combat hierarchies. The Gote 13 in Bleach was built like a military institution. It had ranked captains, divisions, authority structures.
So basically what he's saying is Bleach is responsible for a lot of like character like fashion and stuff like that. Wouldn't JoJo be involved with that too a little bit?
A different combat philosophy, and you see this institutional blueprint clearly echoed in newer series like Demon Slayer or JJK. Demon Slayer frames its Hashira as elite pillars, each embodying a specific combat identity. It's a very Bleach-coded structural
I didn't know Demon Slayer was on Adult Swim.
In JJK, Jutsu Society operates through ranked sorcerers, special grades, and institutional governance, a lot of which is also heavily inspired by Bleach in my opinion. But Bleach's most obvious influence comes through power escalation mechanics. It's the release system from Shikai to Bankai. We see power revealed in different stages, and modern battle anime has iterated on that formula constantly. You see it in domain expansions in JJK and breathing form masteries in Demon Slayer. These are moments where the fight pauses, so that characters can showcase their identity through their power.
I'm glad that
performance
Bleach,
of combat, the idea that ability should feel ceremonial,
followed that early so we can get what we got now, with domains and all of that.
So when you look at Bleach's legacy in modern shonen, it lives in the spectacle. Naruto taught the genre how to make you care about the person fighting, and Bleach taught it how to make the fight itself feel iconic. And because combat is such a visible part of battle anime, that influence feels immediate. It's flashy and easy to recognize, which makes it the perfect contrast to what we're about to step into next. So if Naruto shaped the character writing and Bleach shaped the combat presentation, then where's One Piece's influence? Well, I would say One Piece shaped how shonen thinks about worlds. Its influence doesn't really live in the rivals or the power systems. It's more in the narrative architecture. It's about the structural design of storytelling itself, and that's why its legacy feels harder to see, because it operates underneath the surface. Borrowing from One Piece requires something more demanding in my opinion. It requires building an entire living world before the story even begins. This includes political systems, economic hierarchies, and cultural ecosystems. To me, One Piece doesn't really feel like a story happening in a world. It feels like a world that exists regardless of the story, and that level of design is incredibly difficult to replicate in a weekly serialization format, because it requires long-term planning on a scale most series never get the chance to execute.
So this is why y'all was saying that One Piece is about the world building, not the fights. Obviously, I kind of figured that because you know, the fights that I watched, the first One Piece episode I made, they was good, but they weren't like choreography based or anything like that. So I'm excited to get into One Piece, bro. I really want to understand y'all world building and stuff. I know y'all got the pirates, the Marine Corps. Um, I believe that's it, right? I don't know.
Anymore. And one of One Piece's most unique storytelling structures is the island arc model. Every location the Straw Hats visit isn't just a backdrop for their fights. It's more of a fully realized society. There's a political conflict and a cultural identity. Each arc functions almost like its own contained narrative experiment, while still feeding into the larger world narrative. And that level of setting intentionality is extremely rare in modern battle shonen, where locations often function more as arenas than societies. Then there's the Straw Hat crew itself, because unlike modern shonen teams, they aren't structured around combat roles.
They
or
look like they
rival
do got the
dynamics.
best
I feel like each member's
crew,
individual dream feels more
little
personal
team out of
in
any
One Piece, and they
anime.
all get a great backstory that ties directly into the narrative. It's more than a group of fighters traveling together. It feels like more of a collection of different perspectives moving through the same journey, and replicating that level of character world integration is far more complex than people give it credit for. So when you look at One Piece's influence, it's more than the tropes. It's about the scale you have to commit to. It asks mangaka to build a living world, interconnected histories, societal conflicts, and a crew whose dreams reflect all of it. This makes One Piece's influence incredibly deep, but also incredibly difficult to imitate. So by this point, the difference in influence starts to make more sense. And this is where I want to mention the modern manga industry as well, because it kind of works against stories like One Piece. The manga landscape One Piece debuted in is very different from the modern one shonen authors operate in today. Back then, long-form investment was more viable. Series had room to build slowly, to establish tone, to let the world unfold over time. But modern serialization operates under far tighter survival pressure. If a new series doesn't hook the readers quickly, it risks cancellation within its first year. So authors prioritize immediate engagement tools, such as fast power system.
It makes sense though, because if they take too long to engage the viewer, they're not gonna keep the same retention that they did. You know, the only reason that a lot of people love the older animes when they was slower at the start is because they kind of had to watch it like that. You know, you kind of, if you really wanted to watch anime back in the day, you had to sit down and just really watch it. You can't, you know, put it on and go do something else and wait for the story to pick up. You can't skip through. You can't do none of that back then. You know, you had to sit down and watch every episode, no matter if it was filler or anything like that. So I get that's why they have more freedom and flexibility back then with their animes. But nowadays, people attention span isn't that good. You know, that's why we got shorts. That's why we got TikToks. That's why we got stuff like that. So people want to get straight into the anime and not have to worry about character building as much. Or most of the time nowadays they do it a different way. They build the characters as the story goes on with the fights and stuff like that, make the characters have more character development in that sense. So yeah, I mean, I understand both eras of anime, and I understand why Demon Slayer just immediately got Tanjiro into that force and all of that. I understand why, you know, Naruto took a long time getting Naruto his powers and understanding himself and not being lonely anymore. You got to understand both sides, you know? So
escalation.
At least that's the way I think of it.
Retention drivers, and that naturally favors Naruto and Bleach inspired frameworks over One Piece's slow burn exploration model. In my opinion, One Piece thrives on delayed gratification. Its major emotional payoffs are often built across entire sagas. Lore mysteries are hinted at hundreds of chapters before their resolution, and world events unfold independently of the protagonist's journey. But attempting that structure in a modern manga is a gamble.
I just believe the creator of One Piece just doesn't want to stop making One Piece. Why? Why stop? Why stop? You know, he only like 50 something, right? He only like 50 something.
Get canceled before.
Hold on. Let's see. He's 51. He's 51.
Those payoffs land, the narrative collapses under its own unfinished scale. So many authors intentionally compress the storytelling scope, and it isn't because they lack ambition, but because the industry timeline doesn't guarantee them the space to execute it anymore. There's also the question of what publishers actively push. Modern battle shonen marketing leans heavily on fight choreography, power ceilings, transformation reveals, and
One Piece is just very special,
moments.
I guess.
Those elements are easier to promote, easier to clip, and easier to make go viral, which again aligns more naturally with Bleach-style combat escalation and Naruto-style style emotional rivalries, compared to One Piece's slower political and exploratory storytelling. And another aspect which I have to mention, which is maybe one of the hardest elements to imitate, is One Piece's tone. It stands apart because of how it feels to experience the world. Tonally, One Piece operates on a level of elasticity that very few stories, not just shonen but fiction in general, are able to sustain. It can be absurd, heartbreaking, political, whimsical, and mythic, sometimes all within the same arc. And somehow it never feels tonally broken. One moment you're watching rubber-powered slapstick comedy, exaggerated reactions, cartoon physics, running gags that almost feel like Looney Tunes in execution, and then suddenly the story pivots into themes like oppression. And to me, it doesn't really feel like tonal whiplash because One Piece does this in a cohesive way. This balancing act is one of the series' most defining storytelling strengths, but also one of the hardest to imitate. Most modern shonen don't really attempt that tonal range. Instead, they specialize in a primary emotional lane and build consistency around it. And the reason why tonal elasticity is so rare comes down to trust. Readers have to trust that the story knows what it's doing. If the tonal shifts feel unearned, the narrative risks feeling inconsistent or unfocused. And One Piece has earned that trust through long-term character investment, gradual world immersion, and emotional continuity across arcs. So when it pivots tonally, it feels intentional. And finally, there's a strange paradox that happens when a story becomes culturally as dominant as One Piece. Instead of making it easier for others to follow its blueprint, it actually makes imitation harder, because the more iconic a narrative identity becomes, the more protective audiences get over its uniqueness. And One Piece occupies such a specific storytelling lane that stepping into it almost guarantees comparison. If a modern manga...
Guys, who's the dumbest main character in anime? Like, is Luffy the dumbest? Ichigo, Goku? Like, who do y'all think the dumbest main character is in shonen?
Writes a story about a pirate crew sailing island to island, searching for treasure, building a found family along the way. It doesn't matter how original the execution is. The comparison to One Piece becomes immediate, inevitable, and often unfairly dismissive, because audiences would think of it as imitation. To me, One Piece has kind of monopolized that narrative identity. And in contrast, to me, borrowing Naruto's rival dynamics or Bleach's power escalation systems feels more like genre evolution than direct replication. So that's why I feel authors gravitate towards influences that feel easier to remix invisibly. And in conclusion, that's why I feel that One Piece can feel absent from modern battle shonen influence, even while shaping the genre at its deepest structural level. Because invisible influence, the kind that requires decades of planning, massive tonal balance, and unwavering long-form commitment, is much harder to reproduce.
I think we might do this video next. I don't know yet. We might do this video next. Or if you guys want me to react to Joe video, it's an older video, but we can. Yeah, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit that like and subscribe button for me. And with me watching One Piece I think I'm gonna stream it. I figured it out. I think I'm gonna stream it. And I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna do it like I think I'm gonna do a stream when I'm better hit 1K subscribers. And when we hit 1K, we gonna start One Piece. You know, 1,000 subs for 1,000 episodes. But yeah, man, I think that's how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna stream it. We're gonna be doing a stream before we hit 1K subscribers. So when I hit like 990, I'm gonna start the stream up probably if I'm free. And yeah, man, we're gonna start a stream, my first stream. So bear with me. But yeah, Universal out. You.